Bhakti vinodadeke Gaurara sampada Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Oh, you did that. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadeshatarine Namaste Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivajagacharya Stotra Sadushi Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki Jai Purushottam Kshetra Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai Jamuna Mai ki Jai Bhakti Devi Shri Maharani ki Jai Hari Naam Sankirtan Yajna ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Transcendental Distribution ki Jai Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki Jai Most Possible Lordship Shri Kishore Kishori ki Jai Gauratai ki Jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi ki Jai Aveda Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Bol All glories to the symbol devotees Hare Krishna All glories to the symbol devotees Hare All glories to the symbol devotees Hare All glories to Shri
What's going on? Any objections? Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Lada lada raine. Lada lada raine. Hiranya kashipu vaksha. Tankana kalaye. Ito nishima parato nishima. Yato yato yami tato nishima. Mae nishima iraye nishima. Narasimha marin charanam kapare. Tava kara kamala varena kamaduta singam. Dalitai anyakasipu tanubinga. Kesavadeta narahare rupa jaya jagadisha re. Jaya jagadisha re. Jaya jagadisha re. Lavarena kamaduta singam. Dalitai anyakasipu tanubinga. Kesavadeta narahare rupa jaya jagadisha re. Jaya Nasingade Jaya Nasingade Jaya Nasingade Jaya Nasingade. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Shingdev Bhagavan ki, Prahlad Maharaj ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande Haribol. Pause.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Badnabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajacanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajacanaranjana Jamunatiravanachari Jamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajacanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajacanaranjana Jamunatiravanachari Jamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivadagacharya Astatara Satasri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Shri Shri Kishore Kishori Ki Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled. Glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Well, you can all give a big thanks to Himanshu. Himanshu asked me to consider giving a lecture series on some topics, and over a series of a period of time. He asked for a different topic than this one, but he liked this one too. And the topic is Madhurya Kadambini. Those are the books. Hold on to them. I just happen to have had in my closet in New York a number of copies printed, just waiting for Himanshu to say, "Can you please teach this subject matter?" So they were shipped over here, and in a little bit we'll pass out copies that you may keep, and we'll see if there's enough to go around. We may have to copy some more copies. Madhurya Kadambini is our subject matter, but before we discuss the subject matter, we should follow what Srimad Bhagavatam teaches us to do before we hear from a great personality. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 5, arguably there are 6, exchanges where the hearer approaches the speaker and shows the etiquette of how the hearer should approach the speaker. So in this case, the speaker is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He's the author of the literature that we're going to study. Etiquette is to be followed in any case. A disciple of Narottam Das Thakur. So Narottam Das Thakur was the only disciple of who? Lokanath. When you go to Vrindavan, you'll see the nice temple where Lokanath stayed, and Vishwanath became his disciple. Narottam became his disciple. And Narottam was then sent by Lokanath to study under Jiva Goswami. And Jiva Goswami had many disciples or students, but principal amongst them were 3, one of them being Narottam Das Thakur, who was another? Srinivasacharya, who was another? Shyamananda. And those 3, after being thoroughly educated under the care of Jiva Goswami, he sent them to other parts of India, outside of Vrindavan, with the writings of the Goswamis. So Narottam, one of the principal disciples of Narottam Das Thakur, was Ganga Narayan Chakravarti. And there's details and details, but skipping details and details. He had a disciple named Krishna Charan Chakravarti, and he had a disciple named Radha Raman Chakravarti, who was Vishwanath Chakravarti's spiritual master. So he studied under both of them, which means the purpose, the mission of Jiva Goswami sending the Goswami literatures to other parts of India was successful in many ways, but here's one. He was very successful in that while he was studying under his spiritual master, still as a student he wrote 3 books. And those 3 books were a commentary on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, a commentary on Ujjvala Nilamani, these are 2 books by Rupa Goswami, and a commentary on Brihat Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami. So, I'll just say it again. The mission of Jiva Goswami sending the books of the Goswamis to other parts of India paid off, because the disciples of those students of Jiva Goswami in turn made disciples who knew the literature thoroughly well. They taught their learned disciples, who taught their learned disciples, one of them being Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And he lived there for some time in Bengal, studying under these two, Radha Raman Chakravarti and Krishna Charan Chakravarti. And it is said that his parents, being pious Indian mother and father, they wanted to see that he was married. So, being a nice boy, he agreed to be married, but really didn't pay any attention to his marriage. He taught his wife the Bhagavatam, and then at a young age, he told her, "You just study the Bhagavatam, I'm going to Vrindavan." And she lived happily ever after. And he then went to study further under the direction of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Some of you may have been to Vrindavan, and if you've been to Vrindavan, you certainly went to Govardhan Hill. And if you went to Govardhan Hill, at least you passed through Radhakund Shamakund area. And some of you may have actually been to the place where Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami had his bhajan kutir. So a student of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was another very illustrious Vaishnava named Mukunda, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur became his primary second student. So during this time that Krishnadas, towards the end of his life, that he wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita and other literatures, very, very, very elevated literatures. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur understood the heart of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Krishnadas Kaviraj, who understood it from the heart of Raghunath Das Goswami, who lived with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri. So you see the connection. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, amongst our acharyas in the Gaudiya line, was amongst the most prolific. He wrote the most books, volumes and volumes, including, let's see if we have a little list here. We're going to the next slide. These are commentaries first shown on the list. Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Ujjvala Nilamani, Ananda Vrindavan Champu, Rupa Goswami's Vedanta Madhava, Natakam, Gopal Tapani Upanishad, Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's what he wrote when he was in Vrindavan. And previously I mentioned he wrote 3 other commentaries. So very prolific. In addition to commentaries, that's a certain type of writing, he also wrote other literatures, one of which we're going to be studying, Madhurya Kadambini. And Madhurya Kadambini is following the teachings of Rupa Goswami. No surprise, because he's an acharya in disciplic succession who, but it's not exactly a commentary. It's understandings taken from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and it's just taking the 9 stages of bhakti. So that's what we're going to be discussing. Here's the list of disciplic succession. This comes from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is shown here as coming after Narottam Das Thakur, but you just heard some detail. There's 3 other acharyas in between. So this list of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur indicates the most prominent amongst the line of disciplic succession. Vishwanath was initiated in the line of disciplic succession, and there were 3 gurus or 3 generations of spiritual masters prior to him as disciples of Narottam Das Thakur. And notice that Krishna Das Kaviraj is here, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur studied. This means Krishna Das Kaviraj was very old. He was very old when he was living in Vrindavan, and Vishwanath was studying under him. There's a few very wonderful things that are worth spending a little bit of time. The detail is part of the beauty, and time doesn't permit, given the format. Maybe on the appearance day of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, someone can go into the details of these things. While he was living at Radhakund with Vishwanath, with Krishna, studying under Krishna Das Kaviraj, he read something in Chaitanya Charitamrita that describes the Gopal mantra as being made of 24 and a half syllables. And you count the syllables, those of you who are brahmanas, you can count the syllables, and it's 25. And in fact, Vishwanath was very puzzled because there's no such thing that he ever heard of a half a syllable in Sanskrit. No such thing. This is narrated by Vishwanath to help, it's like a little preface to a commentary on that Gayatri mantra that he wrote, describing the steps that he went to before being prepared to write the commentary. So he read Chaitanya Charitamrita. He couldn't understand it, so he started, being the great Acharya, he started researching. And he went to Jiva Goswami's handbook or manual on rules for Sanskrit. And he couldn't find anything in that Jiva Goswami's writing that spoke anything about a half a syllable. In fact, it said the contrary. So he became very concerned, and he started praying, and he did further research, and he became so disturbed thinking. It's through this means, because remember, he had written his commentary on Brihad Bhagavatamrita when he was still young, and it's this Gopal mantra that Gopakumar was chanting, Madan Gopal mantra, and it's the means for accessing the spiritual world. If he was considering, if I can't understand properly this mantra that I'm chanting, then what is the use of my life? So there's a few other steps within this process, but he then decided within his heart that he was just going to fast on the bank of Radhakund and give up his life. Because what is the use of life if I can't fulfill its purpose? Pretty intense. And so some days into his fasting, he dozed off on the bank of Radhakund, and Srimati Radharani appeared in his dream, and Srimati Radharani instructed him where this half syllable comes from. And she gave a certain Sanskrit text that describes when a half a syllable is appropriate, and I can't remember the detail, but it's within the Gopal mantra. And then Radharani said, you'll find this in the morning, and please then write a commentary on this Gopal mantra. I will empower you, illumine you to understand the meaning, and so write it. So when he woke up in the morning, he remembered that dream. He went to a library that had that particular Sanskrit manual or text with that particular title that Radharani had said, and there it described the rule where some syllable may be called a half a syllable instead of one syllable. And then he wrote a commentary on Gopal mantra, following Radharani's instruction to do so. So if you're a Sanskrit scholar and a qualified Brahmana and want to enter deeply into the meaning of Gopal mantra, there's a wonderful book written by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. I'll just say a few other things, highlights in his life, because you see there's this big stretch, 3 generations. Following Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, then came Jiva Goswami. So the sustaining of the disciplic succession went on very effectively. Krishna Das Kaviraj and Narottama Das Thakur, they also continued very effectively. But we have this big gap of several generations of not a very prominent acharya, and especially in Vrindavan in 3 generations, things had gone down very significantly. And so, attributed to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, as he restored the respectability and the prominence of Lord Chaitanya's presence and his teachings in Vrindavan, because it's very easy for something other than something genuine to proliferate. That's what happened. And Vishwanath turned that around by his presence and his prominence and his teachings and his writings. Another very significant contribution of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was that he became the Shiksha Guru Baladev Vidyabhusan, who then similarly continued the writing tradition and the prominence, almost contemporary with Jagannath Das Babaji, as you see in the list here. But it was by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's direction and training and instruction and detailed explanation to Baladev how to make commentary on Vedanta Sutra per the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, because Srimad Bhagavatam is the natural commentary. Without going into it, it's a long explanation. On either Baladev or Vishwanath's appearance day, someone can narrate that. But the writing of Govinda Bhasya by Baladev Vidyabhusan was directed by Vishwanath. He was very, very elderly. He didn't want to go all the way to Jaipur. He didn't want to leave Vrindavan. So he just instructed Baladev what to write, how to handle the situation. There was a challenge for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, among other things, that they had no commentary on Vedanta Sutra. And therefore, without commentary on Vedanta Sutra, they're not a bona fide disciplic succession, and therefore not qualified to worship Govindaji, so get out of here, was the message. And there's another very significant contribution in his 10th canto commentary, third canto commentary of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vishwanath refuted elaborately a bogus teaching that one of the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had begun propagating. So here's Narottam Das Thakur, and contemporary with him was Srinivasacharya. Srinivasacharya had a daughter, Hemalata Thakurani, who became a Diksha Guru. She, Hemalata, rejected from Lord Chaitanya's association this deviant personality, whose name I can't remember just now, Rama Mishra or something like that, who made an offense to the Vaishnavas at Radha Kund, and then he fell. And the way that he fell was he became deviated and began presenting deviated teachings. And one of those deviated teachings we would recognize it very easily, but he was a prominent fellow, he was very learned, so he got a following, which said, you cannot be a guru or Goswami unless you're a sannyasi. Householders, forget it. Sannyasis, yay! So if you're a renunciate, you can be a guru, and all of the other personalities like Srinivasacharya, who was the father of Hemalata Thakurani, cannot be an acharyas bogus, and some other things. So in his third canto commentary, Vishwanath elaborately explained that why that is not so, and then conversely, those that are hereditary Goswamis because by birth they're born in a Goswami family, that's equally not so. It's not by birth or not by ashram, it's by qualification. And he established, according to scriptural reference, why that is so, which was certainly the teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He rescued what could have been a major schism or split in Gaudiya Vaishnavism of his time, because he was so qualified and so powerful. And his samadhi is in Vrindavan. While during his life he established this deity of Gokulananda. It's a very wonderful story. How he was living, part of the time he was in Radhakund, part of the time he was in Vrindavan town, when Brahmana had a dream that the deity that he was worshipping, this particular deity, appeared in his dream and instructed the Brahmana, I want to be worshipped by a sadhu named Vishwanath. He's living in Vrindavan. Go find him. I want to be worshipped by him. So the Brahmana woke and followed the instruction of Gokulananda. When he brought the deity to Vishwanath, Vishwanath refused. He said, how can I worship a deity? I don't even have a place to live. I don't have anything to offer the deity. And besides, I'm not qualified, so I'm sorry. I can't accept. So disappointed, the Brahmana went home, and that night Gokulananda appeared in Vishwanath's dream and said, I want to be worshipped by you. Don't say no. Say yes. I'll come again tomorrow. Please say yes. I want to be worshipped by you. And that evening also the deity appeared in the Brahmana's dream, second time, and he brought the deity back. And Vishwanath, on this altar, it's the Gokulananda temple. It's a little busy picture here. Gokulananda is the deity of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and the temple is named after him. These are deities of other great acharyas. This is the the Govardhan Shila of Raghunath Das Goswami that was previously worshipped by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So here's Gokulananda here. There's their altar at the Gokulananda temple. So under his teachers in Bengal, and then again under Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Vishwanath learned thoroughly the writings of Sanatan and Rupa Goswami, and this book, Madhurya Kadambini, is following the teachings of Rupa Goswami. What is it that Rupa Goswami was primarily teaching? Sambandha, Abhideya, or Prayojana? Sambandha, or Abhideya, or Prayojana? Mukunda? You don't know? Abhideya. What does Abhideya mean? The process of devotional service. Rupa Goswami spoke about the process of devotional service. Bhakti, Rasa, the process of devotional service. So this is a book about the process of devotional service. And following the teachings of Rupa Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur captured the essence in his own language, the appreciation. I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, but those that are say that he wrote simultaneously very deep and profound messages, but at the same time Sanskrit that was very pleasing and simple and very easy to understand. He was a profoundly rasika bhakta, but at the same time very simple and approachable and easily understood author, which is an interesting combination. So here's another drawing of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So now we're going to begin the text itself. We can pass out the text. I'd like one copy too. There may not be enough to go around, and please don't get lost in the book. You can look, more carefully later, because you can keep these. And again, if you didn't get one, we'll see about making copies for you. There's a preface, and there's an introduction, and then there's chapter 1. So chapter 1 starts, interesting, on page 1. And we're going to be discussing a little bit of what's on page 1 and page 2, for starters. So the subject matter of Madhurya Kadambini, please don't get lost in the book just yet. Not yet. Please pay attention to what's on the screen here. From Shraddha to Prema, so there's 9 stages that begin with faith, and it ends ultimately in love of God, Krishna Prema. And we're going to start using his terminology, the first shower of nectar, which he calls the super excellence of Bhakti. And if you look on page 1, you'll see this. He begins the Mangala Charana with glorification of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then he goes to Rupa Goswami and offers his respects to Rupa Goswami, which is proper. When you begin a literature, obeisances go to your Ishtadev, your worshipable Lord, and your teacher. So he's looking to Rupa Goswami as his, or in this case, a principal instructing guru. And over on page 2, right away, he makes reference to this scriptural reference from Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahma Pucham Pratishta. We know this word Pratishta from chapter 14 Bhagavad Gita. Brahmano hi Pratishta aham. That means, Shankaracharya liked this one, but Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is starting here. Brahman is the origin of everything. And he writes here, even he who is the embodiment of absolute bliss. So it sounds like, Krishna comes from Brahman. At least that's the rendering of impersonalists. But that's where he starts. However, he goes on, further in the Taittiriya Upanishad is another verse, which is down below, that begins Raso Vai Saha. If you look carefully, Raso Vai Saha comes a little bit further down in the first paragraph. Those of you that are little familiar with Bhagavad Gita will know that this same Taittiriya Upanishad verse Prabhupada quotes in chapter 13, where he speaks, same as what's here, Anamoya, Pranamoya, Jnanamoya, Vijnanamoya, and Anandamoya. If we were giving a Bhagavad Gita course, I might ask you, or you might be asked in an exam, exams. What do these mean? They're stages of spiritual realization leading up to Anandamaya. Anandamaya is the happiness of understanding one's relationship or being situated in one's relationship with the personality of Godhead. And you can go backwards or start from the beginning, Anamoya, realization of truth found within food, and then distinguishing life symptoms from inanimate objects, and distinguishing the soul from matter, and distinguishing the Supreme Soul from other souls, and being situated in one's relationship with the Supreme Soul, Anandamaya. These are stages all within the field of Brahman. That you can read that section of Bhagavad Gita later if you wish. It's referenced in this very first paragraph on page 2, just after the Mangalacharana. Then he refers to this verse, Rasa vai saha. Translated means, when one understands the personality of Godhead, the reservoir of pleasure, Krishna, he actually becomes transcendentally blissful. The message being, the happiness of Brahman is a subset of the happiness of Bhagavan realization. Brahmananda is, according to Rupa Goswami's teachings, like the water in the hoofprint of calf compared to an ocean of bliss. So the ocean of bliss, transcendental bliss, comes from being situated in one's relationship with Krishna. And he then right away describes Krishna using this phrase, Rasa vai saha, that the Lord, Krishna, is Rasa, or even more specifically, he is Rasa Swarup, he is the form of Rasa. And one who is situated within Rasa can realize the fullness of Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Krishna. And the medium for entering into Rasa is devotional service or Bhakti. He quotes this wonderful verse from the 10th canto. This is where Krishna is entering into the wrestling arena of Kamsa. And different rasas are identified in this verse. When he entered with Balaram, the wrestlers saw Krishna as a lightning bolt. The men of Mathura as the best of males. The women as Cupid in person. The cowherd men as their relative. The impious rulers as a chastiser. His parents as their child. The king of the Bhojas. Who's that? Kamsa. As death. The unintelligent as the Supreme Lord's universal form. The yogis as the absolute truth. And the Vrishnis as their supreme worshipable deity. So all these different persons, there's this nice verse in Bhagavad Gita, amongst so many, where Krishna says, Yeyatam mam prapadyante tangstadaiva pajamyaham. As they pajami, as they worship Krishna, he reciprocates. So he is saha, that's a pronoun, means he or it. The absolute truth is rasa. So according to one's regard for Krishna, that's one's rasa. And how is rasa established? Rasa is established through bhakti. He then refers to this well-known verse, again the same pratishta word, Brahmano hi pratishta aham. I am the basis or the pratishta, the support of Brahman. Krishna is the support of Brahman. It's a long philosophical subject that we don't have time for just now. But Jiva Goswami discusses it at length in one of his sandarbhas, in Bhagavat Sandarbha, and many, many chapters are dealing, or anucheds are dealing with the statement. He makes a declaration, like a sutra. Wherever in the Vedas the word Brahman appears, one should understand it's referring to Bhagavan. Like whenever you say sunshine, you refer to the sun. There's no sunshine without the sun. He's the basis. And explanation after explanation after explanation after explanation after explanation. So the highest truth is Bhagavan. The subset of that highest truth is Brahman. Krishna is the basis of Brahman. So that means Krishna is all spiritual, and then similarly, Bhakti is all spiritual. Bhakti is as independent as Krishna is. That's one of his assertions. There's no material cause for Bhakti, as there's no material cause for Krishna. He's the cause of all causes. Bhakti is his internal potency. Bhakti Devi is an expansion of Srimati Radharani, his internal potency. So he makes this statement, Bhakti is self-manifesting and independent of any material cause. And standing behind Bhakti is Srimati Radharani. This is in this first chapter. You're invited to go through it carefully. I'm summarizing. So then he makes, over on page 3, he makes several references. One is over here, that is, Yato Bhakti Radhoksujay Ahaituki Pratiyata. This word here, hetu, it's a reference where he says devotional service has no cause, ahaituki. Then here's two more from the 11th canto, Yad Darich Chaya Matkata Dao. And so this Yadrich Chaya is a nice word. It means somehow or other. Like, you can't point to a cause because it has no cause. Yadrich Chaya. If somehow or other one becomes attached to hearing about me, or Mad Bhaktim Ba Yadrich Chaya, somehow he attains my devotional service. So Vishwanath is referring to these to repeat what he said earlier. It's like his proofs or supports or substantiations for the fact that bhakti appears by its own independent sweet will. So this first chapter is one of the things one of the main things the first chapter is doing is how does bhakti begin? Because this is a discussion about bhakti. So how does bhakti begin? The statement is bhakti begins just by the independent sweet will of bhakti. So then he takes this statement at the bottom and goes deeper, drills down a little bit on that statement. Is it possible, supposing someone is a skeptic, and they say, well, maybe there's another meaning to this word, Yadrich Chaya, besides what you think, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Maybe there is another meaning to how bhakti appears. So he takes them up one by one. Some person may say, and he refutes it, that bhakti comes by good fortune. Maybe yadricchaya means good fortune. Well, then he raises the question, yes, well, okay, if you're giving that argument, then there has to be a cause of the good fortune. So then somebody might say, well, it's Shubha karma that's the cause of good fortune. And that's why bhakti appears. But then he refutes that argument by saying that's not possible. Can something material generate something spiritual? Good karma? Shubha karma generates something spiritual? No. Well, then maybe yadricchaya means just Lord is merciful, directly merciful. And then the question can be, well, what's the cause of his mercy? Well, the answer is there's no cause for his mercy, causeless mercy. And then he argues, well, then if that's the case, then everyone would be a devotee. Causeless mercy. The sun shines on everybody. And the mercy of the Lord is upon everybody, so everyone would be a devotee. We don't see that. So yadricchaya has to mean something else. Then it's qualified mercy. And he says that's not possible, because then the Lord would be guilty of a fault, of partiality. He's partial to some and not to others. He gives his mercy to some and not to others. Qualified mercy. So that can't be correct. Then here's another possibility. As Bhakta Vatsala, that's Krishna. What does Bhakta Vatsala mean? He holds his devotees very dear to him. He's very dear to his devotees. Bhakta Vatsala. We discussed that a little bit about Lord Nrsingadev. He appeared because he's Bhakta Vatsala. He wanted to protect Prahlad. And he wanted to uphold the word of Lord Brahma and so forth and so on. He's very affectionate to his devotee. So since the Lord is Bhakta Vatsala, it's one of his qualities, he displays one of his bhushanas, or ornaments, which is, there's no partiality in him. Dushanam, that's a fault. So, how does that work? We have this unqualified mercy of a devotee, and then the mercy of the Lord and his madhyama bhakta. So this is one of the arguments, and he's refuted this argument, and now he's putting forward another one. That is, the Lord has mercy, he's Bhakta Vatsala, and then he has devotees, some of whom are madhyama devotees. What does madhyama devotee mean? Who can say, besides Himanshu? What does it mean? Madhyama.
A middle stage devotee.
Middle stage devotee. Which stage are you in? You're pretty middle stage, aren't you? No?
First stage.
You're the first stage? Okay. But you're trying to become middle stage, right? So that counts. You're in the lower regions of the middle stage. Is that okay? Or the upper regions of the lower stage? Striving qualifies you to be a madhyama. Striving. Okay, so Vishwanath, this is now just summarizing the text. He says, this is what happens with the middle stage, or madhyama. There's topmost, middle, and lower. In the middle stage, Krishna, who is Bhakta Vatsala, he bestows power of attorney. That's a legal term. Do you know what power of attorney means? You ever heard that word? Never heard it before. Supposing I say, you know, I'm going to be traveling next week, but there's a very important contract that has to be signed while I'm gone. So I'm going to give you a little note, and you can sign the contract for me. I give you power of attorney. I might more likely do that with Nityananda Pran. But supposing I did that with you, then whatever you sign, I'm held responsible for whatever you sign because I gave you a power of attorney. You understand? You got it? The idea? So Krishna gives power of attorney to his madhyama devotee, madhyama bhakta. He says, you know what? You can give me to whoever you like. I give you that power of attorney. I place myself in your hand, and you can give me to whoever you like. But a madhyama has some instruction in Scripture. What's that? We're supposed to do 4 things. Worship Krishna, and then make friendships with devotees, and then those who are innocent, give mercy, and then those that are gross atheists and Krishna haters, we avoid those people. That's what we're told by Scripture to do. The madhyamas, right? So, I give you power of attorney. You can give me to whoever you like. That's Krishna saying to his madhyama devotee. But then the madhyama devotee is bound to worship Krishna, make friends with the devotees, give Krishna to the innocent, and avoid the non-devotee, atheists. So that's what he says. The madhyama devotee is given the power to give out the Lord's own mercy. His Kripa Shakti, Krishna's Kripa Shakti, not the devotees. Just go on Sankirtan and give people books. Or go on Harinam and give people the holy name. Or conduct a festival, or go for a Krishna lunch and give people prasadam. You're authorized. Go ahead, give prasadam to people. Okay. I like giving prasadam to people, it's nice. And Krishna may then authorize you to do that. You can give me to, because prasadam is Krishna. And the holy name is Krishna, and the transcendental literature is Krishna. So the madhyama makes that distinction. They don't give prasadam to somebody that's going to throw it on the ground and jump up and down on it. I remember as a young brahmachari, the first summer that I was part of a Sankirtan party, there was this one crazy fellow amongst the other crazy fellows, one particularly crazy fellow who would come out during his lunch hour and rock back and forth and sneer. Spit was coming out of his mouth, steam was coming out of his ears. He was a madman. Then he would wait until somebody approached somebody to give them some literature, and he'd run up and tell the people, "Don't take this is terrible, throw it away." And sometimes he'd snatch it out of their hand and literally jump up and down on the back of Godhead magazine like he was, killing Krishna. So we don't give literature to people like that. Don't make offense. But we do give literature to other people, and we give Krishna's Kripa Shakti according to the injunction of Scripture. And so that means bhakti, that's within the madhyama bhakta's heart, is what is given. Clear? So bhakti, his argument is, in this way, what the devotee is giving, bhakti, has as the source Bhakti Devi, who maintains her independence. Bhakti Devi is independent. Now, Krishna gives the power of attorney. Now you learned a new term today. Vocabulary has expanded. Krishna gives the power of attorney to that madhyama bhakti. You can give me to whoever you like, at your discretion. Use discretion, but at your discretion. And then the discretion of the madhyama bhakta is the valve that says someone gets bhakti and someone doesn't get bhakti, because he's enjoined to do this and not do that. So it's the mercy of the devotee, which is Krishna's mercy that he's giving, and it's Bhakti Devi, and she's independent. Therefore, Bhakti gives Bhakti. Voila. So that means we better go out on Sankirtan, because otherwise Bhakti isn't going to proliferate. That's what it means. A Madhyama Bhakta is mandated to discriminate. Thus, the one who gives out the Lord's mercy. Krishna is the Bhaktavatsala person, and he lets his mercy follow the mercy of the devotee. You got it? So devotees, be merciful. Try to be merciful. Like Radhanath Maharaj was appealing, compassion. By the compassion of a bhakta, you may not be an uttama bhakta, you may be a madhyama bhakta, you may be in the lower range of a madhyama bhakta, but be merciful and compassionate, because Krishna's mercy will flow and follow your mercy. That's how it works. And we're almost done with the chapter. So then he goes backwards over the same subject matter. Bhakti is not caused by nishkam karma. Those of you that are scholars in Bhagavad Gita. Manoj, what does nishkam karma mean? What does it mean? Nishkam karma. Activity, karma, or duty that's performed nishkama, without the expectation of gaining something from it. Nishkam karma. Karma palatyag, renouncing the fruits of work, nishkam karma. So bhakti is not caused by nishkam karma unless that nishkam karma is connected to bhakti. Because somebody may do nishkam karma just desiring moksha, not Krishna, or pleasing Krishna, just I want out of here, this crazy place. So I'm going to do nishkam karma to get free from bondage so I can get liberation. Krishna's not in the picture. So bhakti is not caused by that. In fact, taking it a step further, bhakti is always distant from karma and gyan. Isn't that what Rupa Goswami teaches in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu? Do you know the verse? Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma jnanavartam. You don't know that one yet? Learn it between now and the next class that I give, and I'll ask you at the beginning of the class. He'll teach you. It's a nice verse. Who knows the verse? Ansharinishta. Say the verse loud. Anyabhilashita shunyam. That verse that he just recited, that's the principal verse of the entire nectar devotion. And this statement here, bhakti is always distant from karma gyan, is the first half of it. So, to achieve the highest stage of bhakti, prema, love, that's its ultimate fruit, these paths, which paths? Karma and gyan, they're not required. And then stated in reverse, if you're going to get some results from gyan, karma, or yoga, there must be some bhakti. And if there isn't bhakti, there isn't really results. Bhakti is not dependent on them. They are dependent upon bhakti to give anything, fruit. So what's the bhakti element? It's for Krishna, on behalf of Krishna, just like doing your duties for Krishna. It's not just varnashram, but it's daivi varnashram. You do your duties for Krishna. You go to school for Krishna. Right? Okay. He even takes it another step further this is still chapter 1. Bhakti does not depend on purity. Like, for example, you can chant Hare Krishna in the bathroom. That's not a clean place. It's a dirty place. Even if you clean it, it's still dirty. But you can chant Hare Krishna even in that place, because it's not dependent upon the place, the purity of the elements. Whereas the other processes, jnana and karma and yoga, it is. It's very dependent on the circumstances and the direction of things and the rules and regulations. But we know, niyamatak smarane nakala. There aren't hard and fast rules for the chanting of the holy name. Bhakti does not depend on purity or even on faith. That is, unknowingly someone can be engaged in devotional service. Give somebody some prasadam. They're engaged in devotional service. They hear the Sankirtan party as they're passing by. They're being engaged in devotional service. They see the passing of the Jagannath Rath Yatra cart, and they're being engaged in devotional service. Unknowingly, even without faith, bhakti can manifest. So it's not dependent upon something material, it's independent. And moreover, he concludes, bhakti is already there, just has to be awakened. And again, so he ends the chapter offering his respects to Rupa Goswami, who has provided him and us with these wonderful teachings that he's now writing in glorification of. That's the end of chapter 1. So, summary, Krishna's position, he is of the realm of transcendence, as is Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. They're in this non-dual strata. There's nothing material amongst all of them. But Krishna, because he's Rasa Vaisaha, he is the basis of rasa. Anyone that reposes their attention upon him can experience the highest of happiness that far surpasses the happiness of Brahman realization. And just as Krishna is that highest, in that highest position, Bhakti is also as the spiritual counterpart of Krishna. She is as independent as he is. So Bhakti manifests independently, but how does it happen? How does it happen? Power of attorney? Power of attorney? Krishna gives power of attorney to his madhyama bhakta. You can give me to whoever you like, at your discretion. That's how it happens. So bhakti creates bhakti, which is already within the heart, and it can become awakened. Everyone is an eligible candidate, because bhakti is already in their heart. The Bhagavatam teaches us it's like igniting wood. It's a little easier, it's a lot easier to ignite wood that's dry compared to igniting wood that's wet. Wood that's wet makes a lot of smoke before it's going to ignite. So sometimes when we go on Harinam Sankirtan, people make a fuss. But that's just part of the smoke of making the wet wood dry wood. But bhakti is in their heart. And contacting the bhakta, Krishna's mercy follows the compassion, kindness, and the mood of service unto others desired by Lord Chaitanya as extended by the madhyama bhakta. That's how bhakti begins. That's the first chapter. Now maybe I'll turn around and look at you all instead of having my back to you. Comments or questions? Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Marge, please correct me if I'm wrong. but one understanding that I had of what it means to be madhyama bhakta is that you have, like, I think you have fixed faith even if you don't fully understand all the aspects of bhakti or Krishna consciousness, whereas a kanishta adhikari is still learning and they're still not quite fixed in they're not set that, like, even though I'm not there yet, I know this is the process that I want to follow. They're not exactly at that point. So I was thinking, if that's correct, I was just wondering, because it was mentioned that the madhyama is the one that is empowered or allowed to give, distribute love of God or bhakti. So I was wondering, should kanishtas be encouraged to go out on Sankirtan even though they themselves might not be convinced?
Yes. I mean, yes to the last part, and the first part of yes, a character. There are different ways of characterizing Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttama. One of them is what I said about regarding the personality of Godhead, the devotee, the innocent, and the non-devotee atheist, as opposed to the Kanishta that doesn't have proper discrimination about the devotees. They just have an idea that God is in the church, synagogue, or temple, and they go to the church, synagogue, and temple to worship God because He's in the church. They have that faith. And they don't have a proper understanding of how to regard the devotee. Madhyama has that additional qualification or responsibility, and the Uttama, it's way beyond. They see everyone as Krishna's devotee. So then there's the issue of faith, which is what you're bringing up. Soft and pliable, fixed and unshakable. Now those aren't buckets. Those are stages. And so, like I was teasing Prahlad, the Gaudiyas, the Gaudiya Math, they have this language, Kanishta, Kanishta, Madhya Kanishta, Uttama Kanishta. Kanishta, Madhyama, 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 Uttama Madhyama. And so forth. So, and still it's not buckets. It's just, it's like a dimmer switch. So faith can be measured in degrees. It's not, click and click and click. It's variable. So, Prabhupada was very kind in that he engaged new people, and we following him did the same thing. Very new people were engaged on going on Sankirtan. I mean, the first day I was living in the temple. They were taking, anyway, got in the van and went to Boston Common and got out of the van and went on Harinam Sankirtan with all the devotees. I was like still in my dungarees and I didn't know what was going on. I'd never been on Harinam Sankirtan before. New guy. Vipramukhya teased me years later because I hadn't remembered his first week that he was living in the temple. He went on book distribution at Grand Central Station. And he was intimidated like anything because he was a New Jersey kid. Grand Central Station, my God. And I said, really? I did that? So, well, you gave me good association, but Grand Central Station. So we can be engaged in madhyama activity in the association of other devotees even before our faith is firm, So it's but we're being trained from the very beginning to come to the madhyama stage. We're engaged in madhyama activities commonly. There may be more of a delay than some persons in some circumstances, but engaging people, like when we go in Harinam, someone comes over and they want to chant with us. We have them chant with us. We say, "Oh, you can't chant. You don't have firm faith yet. You're not eligible." So it's not rigid, and it's not a bucket. It's quite flexible. The mercy of Lord Chaitanya can come into one's life where one can be made qualified, even one is unqualified, by mercy. And the mercy of a devotee engaging someone. We have to be, a bit discriminating, but we can also engage people. That address your question? Yes, Himanshu. And then
Speak slowly, Maharaj. I'll try to speak slowly. There was on one of the last slides, there was a point that said that something about how you can only get to the extent that the bhakta has. He can only give you bhakti to the extent that he has bhakti. Remember that point was there in one of the last slides? Not in those exact words.
I'm listening.
Okay. It's a point that I've heard before, and I've always...
It's a point that what?
It's a point I've heard before.
It's a point of what?
I've heard this
point that you heard before.
And I've always questioned about it. So here's the different elements I'm considering. Jiva Goswami in Bhakti Sandarbha makes this point that the initial investment that a sadhu makes in your spiritual life will have an impact in how far you go or how far you realize, Krishna consciousness.
Okay.
And
I'd like to see the reference before I make a comment.
Yeah, I could find the reference.
Can you do that?
I'll find the reference.
Okay.
But there's furthermore point to this question. We meet so many sadhus in the sojourn of our spiritual life. It's someone who introduces you to Krishna
Remember
consciousness.
to speak slowly. I got it so far, but you're getting a little fast again.
So, your first introduction to Krishna consciousness may not be from someone who is extremely advanced, right?
Commonly it's like that.
Right. It's always like that. So what do our acharyas mean when they make this point? That
which point?
That you can only get bhakti to the extent that, whatever bhakti the person giving it to you has, that is to the extent that you will get.
Well, you show me the reference and we'll discuss it.
No, it was in your presentation. It was one of the last slides. I'm just substantiating it with something from Jiva Goswami's Bhakti Sandarbha. But on one of your last slides, the statement was, I can scroll back.
This one?
No, before this. The bhakti within a devotee's heart is what is given. This one.
Fine. What's the problem?
No problem. Just want to understand this a little bit more. What does this statement mean?
What does it take it to mean? It means what it says. It means what it says. It says what it means. You can't give what you don't have. So, the madhyama has bhakti, and the madhyama gives bhakti. The bhakti within the madhyama devotee's heart is what is given. That's what it means. It says what it means. So, you go and Sankirtan. That may be like a bucket full of bhakti, but there's some, and you're giving bhakti. I'll sit down. That's what you're doing. I mean, there's behaviors and there's speech and there's, something with your mouth and something with your legs and something with your hands. Your indriyas are moving, but it's the bhakti, it's not the behavior. And that's what you're giving. You're using those instruments as instruments of bhakti, because you have some bhakti in your heart.
Thank you. That helps me refine my question a little bit.
Okay.
So
now we're getting a refined question.
is the acharyas, when they say that, are they, in other words, encouraging us to seek the kind of sangha that will give us the sort of bhakti for which we may have acquired inspiration?
Sure. And
like
supposing that's not proximate, then what do? You do, you don't like. I don't want to associate with you, Himanshu, because you're not an uttama bhakta. I'm going to go somewhere else till I find an uttama bhakta. See you later. That's not advisable. We serve anyone who's carrying bhakti in their heart. We serve an ant that's not. We have to give respect, and we serve the devotees, whatever their position. Isn't that what Radhanath Maharaj was saying? We derive, the greatest of inspiration from those that have the greatest source of bhakti, and we serve others and serve others and serve others and serve others and serve others because we're enjoined to serve others, and that's pleasing to Mahaprabhu. And we don't make those kinds of distinctions. We need to know who's, I forget even what that guy's name was. That was like the manager of the Grateful Dead, Ron Scully or whatever the guy's name was, Dick Scully or something or other. So we respect that man, although he's not, and he can be furthered along his pace. So that's what we do. And we should try to see through the eyes of devotion what my service is, respective to this person, and respective to that person and that person. And for whom am I doing this? I'm doing this for those, those great souls that are under whose command my life is carried out. They've given me instructions to do this, ultimately Mahaprabhu. And so I'm carrying that mercy. Like that. Well, yeah, there was somebody over here that had their hand up. We'll get everybody, hopefully. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your class.
Thank you for thanking me for the class. And nobody else thanked me for the class because it takes extra time. Thank you.
Okay, so Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has established the impartiality of the Lord and explains bhakti gives bhakti through the madhyama adhikari.
Isn't it nice?
By bhakti. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the only thing that's confusing for me is that we see Lord Chaitanya is giving out bhakti like it's water to all these, conditioned souls.
He's flooding them.
So are we to understand these are sadhakas that have, as a part of their progression through bhakti, have taken birth in a place where they can interact with the Lord in His Leela?
You mean the recipients?
The recipients.
Or the givers?
No, the recipients.
The recipients.
Like when Lord Chaitanya gives it directly to...
No. It's not like because of past pious activities they happened to be in the right place that they got inundated. No. There's no prior qualification. Let's do it again. Your question, and let me say back what I understand your question to be, and then I'll repeat my answer. Is it that because of past pious activities, someone happened to be in the right place at the right time and get Lord Chaitanya's inundation of Krishna, prema, and they floated away in the ecstasy of love of God because of their past pious activities or their past good karma? Was that your question?
No, well, it was more that since bhakti gives bhakti and the Lord's impartial, it seems like the Lord is giving it, partially to these people.
He was giving to anybody, everybody.
Okay.
He was impartial. And still some floated.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Now, Nityananda Pran, you want... Okay.
About this point of a madhyama adhikari giving bhakti?
Yeah. Anuttama can do it too. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he's not a madhyama bhakta. He can do it too. Go ahead.
When I'm particularly thinking about Chintamani helping Bilva Mangal Thakur.
Okay.
So it seems like even a Kanishta who may distribute prasadam to somebody on the street, or a Chintamani may give an instruction and there might be something that clicks for that person.
Yeah.
So where is the madhyama adhikari? Is it the madhyama adhikari who's engaging the kanishtas in the service?
Well, there's rules and there's exceptions. That's how an answer that I would give. Yeah. Like, here's a for example. In the early days of the Hare Krishna movement, Stilson Judah, who was a sociology professor, interviewed the devotees as a sociologist to find out how did the devotees become devotees. And largely, the devotees became devotees, not through a devotee, but through someone who was kind of like, use our early Hare Krishna movement lingo, a fringy. Somebody who wasn't involved so much in bhakti, but they would go to the Sunday program or whatever it is, they had a friendship with somebody out there, and they told somebody about, or they gave somebody a book, or something. They gave them some beads or told them to chant or something like that. Not all, but it was a substantial sum of people. So that mercy can be passed on. The stick in the hand of the person who is the madhyama becomes the instrument of the madhyama, but it's the madhyama giving, and that the person becomes the instrument like that. Now, in the case of Bilva Mangala Thakur and Chintamani, I don't know if she was the instrument of anyone other than his previous spiritual master. And somehow even unknowingly became the instrument because she was so appalled by his conduct, his attachment. But he took it, this is my spiritual master speaking. So someone can ask as an instrument. And the rule still prevails. And it's not that, like this question that Mukunda asked about faith, that not that one has to be in this quite advanced stage of being firm in their faith. It's their acting in that position like a madhyama. Coming back to the question about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and how he conducted himself, or maybe even more relevant for us, or more proximate in time, is Srila Prabhupada was very clearly an Uttama, but he came to the madhyama position and conducted himself in ways as a madhyama would conduct himself. And that was very powerful. That's like, seeking that kind of association. Wow. And then Prabhupada empowered others who then became very powerful because of their contact with him. They became instruments of that exalted person.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, this is in reference to the statement about bhakti being independent of jnana and karma.
Okay.
So, and below that statement, there was another statement that conversely, jnana and karma are actually dependent on bhakti.
Very important teaching in the whole context of our science of devotional service. Yeah.
So my question was, when I read that statement, I was processing it in two ways. One is, for the devotees, it's easy to understand that although we are in the mixed stages and everything we do is mixed, there is somewhere, there's an element of bhakti and Krishna is reciprocating, and that's why we progress.
But the reverse is the harder one for you?
The harder one was understanding how it works for, say, like a regular, like a non-devotee fruitive worker. Is it true for them also?
For a non-devotee what?
A fruitive worker. A non-devotee. They may not even know Krishna, but they're still doing karma or something like that. So the results are still given by Krishna, right?
What has been?
So I'm
I don't
not
understand.
clear.
Do you understand your question? Because I don't. Are you clear what your question is?
Yeah, I'm
Say it.
clear.
Say it clearly, because I'm not getting it.
Okay. My question is this element of bhakti, that jnana and karma are dependent on bhakti, right? That was a statement. So
That you got.
how does it apply to non-devotees? That's my
How
question.
does it apply to non-devotees?
Or does it apply? I don't know if...
This is speaking, if I've understood your question correctly, this is speaking about that type of gyan that the fruit of which is mukti. Not, academic knowledge and professors and, people that know trivia. It's gyan that comes from scripture that delivers liberation, moksha. Gyan cannot deliver moksha, knowledge from the scripture, that jnana kanda section of the Vedas cannot deliver anything unless there's some tinge of, or mixing of bhakti. It's dependent for delivering the fruit of gyan, liberation, upon bhakti. And similarly, the fruit of karma, specifically now, the prescribed duties in the Vedas, not just the fruitive worker out there in, in suburban or downtown Chicago, or in this material life around the corner. It's specifically the fruit of karma, prescribed duties properly performed, bring elevation to the heavenly planets. And the other fruits of piety, prescribed duties, without the touch of, or some tinge of bhakti, that fruit is not going to come. That's the meaning. That's my understanding. So the fruit of workers that are acting fully devoid of God consciousness, no faith, no acceptance, no understanding, no acknowledgement of divine power behind their work and their life, they will not get the heavenly destination that is sought after by those who engage in prescribed duties of that kind. Impossible. Let him go. Let him go. He's a wild man. Okay?
Thank you.
Anything else? Yes. Charinishta? Prahlad. Fell asleep. Stay alert, Prahlad. Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj. My question in regards to this point that was discussed, the bhakti within the devotee's heart is what's given. Wanting to understand more deeply the definition of this bhakti, because we know there's para bhakti or pure bhakti. Generally, bhakti refers to pure bhakti. But if a madhyama doesn't have that, then as far as tracing the origin of getting the spontaneous devotion or real devotion, does that come?
Oh, wait a minute. You're mixing words really fast here. Spontaneous devotion or real devotion, as if those that are not engaged in spontaneous devotion are not engaged in real devotion.
Well, I understand there's
So
some
be
distinction.
careful. Use your language. I'm editing your language. Please allow me to do that. Because language is important.
Mm-hmm.
And you just went through that, and I'm objecting. Because according to Rupa Goswami, one who's there are three parts to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu: Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, and Prema Bhakti. And they're all Bhakti. The sadhaka is engaged in Bhakti. He's engaged in sadhana Bhakti. It's not spontaneous, but that's Bhakti. So now ask your question again.
So the
and don't
development
allow me
of
to hammer you with my editing remarks.
the development of spontaneous devotion, is that a maturation of the bhakti that has been given by a madhyama bhakta? Or is that a different type of, or a more condensed form, just terminology may not be correct, that's given by one who's on a higher platform, an uttama bhakta, who has a more refined...
It's neither of those. I mean, it's something closer to the first one than it hasn't having anything to do with the second one. It can be. Shivaram Maharaj has given some very wonderful lectures because he has studied this subject very deeply, and he speaks with such clarity on that subject which he has studied so deeply. And there are different possibilities, and to keep it really simple, one who engages in the Sankirtan given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, such a person who engages in the Sankirtan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu may come very naturally, become the recipient of the inspiration for this spontaneous devotion. That's a short summary. There are other approaches, but that Sankirtan must be there even in those other approaches, to keep it simple. And it's elaborate. It's like, it's very elaborate. But so can you, let's get really focused here, can you, Acharya Nishta Das, come to the stage of spontaneous devotional service without coming in contact with an uttama adhikari? Well, there's one right there, and his teachings are accessible to you, and the instructions of what we're doing are coming from our founder Acharya, and if we receive the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just like, follow the instructions of Shikshastakam and you'll get there, for example. It's there. Just reach out and it's there. And enter into it by receiving it in this descending fashion, and you engage in that type of chanting of the holy name congregationally, and along with the other activities that you are doing, and that stage, the potency is within those activities for a spontaneous devotional service to awaken. Now there's other details described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that you are to also follow, and that they're there. But that's within what our founder Acharya has given us, and from our previous Acharyas in Rupa Goswami, etc. Any objection from anybody in the audience to what I just said? You got an objection? Slight. Okay, go ahead.
So, in other words, you're saying that you don't need a living carrier of spontaneous devotion to attain spontaneous devotion, but rather by following the instructions of those previous acharyas.
Well, I didn't say that either. By following, Krishna will take care of those needs. The faithful follower will not be left an orphan. I knew Bhakti Luke would have something to say on this topic.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I have no objection, Maharaj.
Oh, isn't that nice? But
well, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to object in this environment, Maharaj. But anyway, no, I don't have any objection. I just wanted to share one statement that I've heard, which is that to obtain the prerequisite for spontaneous devotion, which I assume we're referring to Raganuga Bhakti, although sometimes it's not clear, to attain the qualification, which is greed, is actually more rare than attaining bhava on the Vaidhi path. So if any of us in this room actually do attain this greed, which will allow us to experience, what Acharya Prabhu is calling real bhakti or Raja Bhakti, well, we would be very, 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 very fortunate. That was just what I wanted to share. So, but, I have full faith in everyone here that you all have the potential to do that, and probably you'll do it before I do. So, Hare Krishna.
We'll be waiting, beckoning. Yeah. Yeah, another question.
There are two questions from audience online.
Really?
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Okay.
The first is Advaita Charan from Champaign-Urbana.
Okay.
He says, Maharaj talked about bhakti coming from bhakti through a devotee. And later there was also a statement that bhakti is already there and it needs to be awakened. Could you please ask him the difference?
There's no contradiction, there's no difference. It's like, for example, within the chair that I'm sitting in, there's fire. The seat isn't hot, but there's fire. It's stored in a latent condition, but there's fire in wood, stored. So that's the bhakti is within. And then you bring a match to or a candle or, whatever it is, to the chair, and the chair could get warmer and warmer and the fire comes out. Because there's fire over there that's now ignited, and there's fire that's stored over here. Okay. So that's a simple way to understand these two statements.
The second question seems a little similar. Is it the case that everyone has bhakti and a devotee awakens that in others, or that people don't have bhakti initially and it is given by a devotee to them?
It's both. It's a semantical question, because persons whose bhakti is dormant, one can say they don't have bhakti, and those whose bhakti is dormant, one can say they have bhakti but it's dormant. So it's a matter of perspective, and with perspective, language or semantics. So bhakti is already there, but bhakti needs to be received. The seed of bhakti needs to be received. What's that seed of bhakti? Is the awakening of, and Prabhupada makes, in his language, makes it very clear, it's the desire to serve Krishna. The desire to serve Krishna is the awakening of the seed of bhakti. And so through association of one who is serving Krishna becomes awakened to the notion or the spirit of wanting to serve Krishna. In whatever manner somebody likes to do things. Dance, sing, whatever, cook and clean and whatever, for Krishna. Does that, I'm not sure I've understood the question properly, but I think I've answered the question. Have I answered the question? From your perspective?
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Okay. Yeah, Jagatananda.
On this same topic at the end.
Changing the topic.
No, same topic.
Same topic.
So it seems, my understanding is when we hear that bhakti comes from bhakti, so it's the remembrance of bhakti
The which from bhakti?
The devotee gives or awakens the bhakti that is there in the heart.
Okay.
And also Srila Prabhupada has translated always bhakti as devotional service. So the abhideya is what is perhaps awakened.
Awakening again is the word you're using?
Yeah, it's the process of devotional service, how to conduct it. Is that what is awakened? And of course the knowledge also, but
well,
also the process.
it's not, language is important. So I want to make sure I've understood your question properly. Are you asking what is it that is awakened, which is essentially asking what is bhakti? Is it the procedures and processes of serving Krishna that's awakened?
Yeah.
Or is it the spirit to serve Krishna that's awakened?
Both.
Well, supposing I'm a little child, and I don't know much about the processes, but I try to do something in the spirit of serving Krishna. That's bhakti. I may not know the processes.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And so
like we heard, Jayananda throwing watermelon 30 feet in the air and saying Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, and it's splattered. So that's bhakti. It's not exactly the processes of bhakti that are found in the vidhis of scripture. But he offered to Vishnu the watermelon and it splattered. And he gave pieces out to people. So with bhakti comes then, we want to understand how to, the processes of, the form. So the form is not the essence is the essence. Bhakti is the essence. And then there's form, the processes. And we follow the processes because it's conducive for awakening further our bhakti, and it sets an example for others how to. Okay?
Yes, Maharaj.
So that answer your question?
And so we also understand that what is actually received is a seed, which will manifest, with cultivation and process. So it's not, as you're saying, it may be the spirit initially, and then as it matures with association, it manifests.
My hearing process is a shot. I heard about 10% of what you just said. You're just elaborating on the answer?
No, I'm not elaborating, Maharaj. I'm saying...
You're asking another question? Help!
Yeah, well, we also understand that bhakti is received as a seed. And
Bhakti is a seed?
As a seed, in a seed-like stage, and that seed is cultivated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
Yeah.
So...
Sure.
Yeah, so... Yeah.
Okay, I think I got it. Last question. Kalyan, you got a question? No? Okay. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the class. I would like to know more about the statement.
More about the statement?
Yeah. Bhakti does not depend on purity.
Bhakti doesn't do what?
Depend on purity.
Purity.
Yeah. So.
This little boy, does he have bhakti? You bet. Let's say, his mother, who has to look after him, she has to clean up after him and this and that and the other thing. So her condition externally may not be pure, but there's bhakti inside. Yeah? The example that I gave was you can chant the holy name in a bathroom. It's not the effect of the chanting of the holy name is not dependent upon the circumstance, the purity of, because in Karma Kanda Yagya, it's very much dependent on the purity of the ingredients that are gathered by the Brahmana and put together in such and such and such and such and such manner. and it's something is not pure or unclean, the whole thing is spoiled. You follow? Niyamatak smarane nakala, same as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's no hard and fast rules. That's the message. Like his example, Lord Chaitanya can come and inundate completely unknowing people with love of God. It wasn't, the prior condition was their purity, not dependent upon that.
Giving bhakti should have a level of purity.
Well, the more that one has purity, the more one is able to give pure devotion. Supposing I'm, like this Stilson Judah example, persons that began their devotional service by contacting somebody that has, like a visitor to the ashram, they didn't begin, they came to the place then where they got that stronger association. And then ultimately, it's the association of our founder Acharya. But for bhakti to begin, it doesn't require that. For us as the givers, we want purity. We become then a better instrument. Did that address your question? Kind of? Not completely? We want purity. Yes. But bhakti being given doesn't depend on that. One may not be so pure, and you can still give bhakti. One doesn't cancel out the other. Don't get confused. You're fully unconfused now, right?
I feel some hope when I hear that statement.
Strive for purity. But even when one is not yet pure, one can give bhakti because there's some bhakti inside and you give that. Okay? There we go. Now she's got it. Okay. And I'm going to end. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. 8:30.